All right, so we are going to, again, have a conversation. So, because, again, that's what this is all about. And we'll begin by telling you kind of the context, how our paper came about, and our work, and then basically what we did, and the little twist in our study, and then, you know, a little bit about where we are, and then invite your questions and participation and maybe even responses to where we are. Actually, I guess the story starts 2 years ago when we were at the castle, and Nancy and I actually connected. We met each other and, you know, immediately hit it off. And when I was at the castle 2 years ago, I was actually presenting work that I had done with my research partner, who is one of my doc students, Mark. Mark's an art teacher, and I'm also a trained visual artist. And I had been really struggling with using visual forms of representation, and had gravitated toward Jack's work, Jack Whitehead. I think everybody knows Jack. And Jack and Marie were here then. And I had been playing with using images, visual images, and struggling with the technology piece of it. Nancy and
I was using visual pieces, but not technology. I was using panoramic photographs, and I presented about that here and also at AERA at different functions of it. But I was avoiding the technology until,
as was I,
Jill and I started chatting, and, oh wait, Max came into my life. That's it for the computer and okay, well, Max was a gift. Max came from New York City. He was adopted by a very nice looking lawyer who thought it would be cute to have a puppy to pick up women on Sunday morning. Well, that sounded great on a Saturday morning, but on Tuesday when he had to go to work and his dress work lawyer shoe was in the dog's mouth, didn't work out so well. So I flew to New York and picked up the dog in a bag. The dog now weighs 90 pounds. And why I'm telling you all of this is that I promised him I would electronically send him photos. I didn't know how to do this. I didn't have a Facebook account. I had nothing. I knew how to turn my computer on and basically use it as glorified typewriter and, you know, maybe send some emails, but I really did not know how to do anything past that.
And I think also what also motivated us was when we left the castle the last time we were here, we were approached by Ann Schulte, who said, do you think the two of you would like to do the pre-conference, which will happen before AERA next time? And we looked at each other and said, sure, no problem, fine, but knew also that that required some ability with technology and communicating with other people and doing all of these things. And then we started talking about what we wanted to do, and Catherine actually had put something out there about technology, and Jack was also advancing this idea of connecting people globally through this digital participatory environment. And I had actually left here and gone back and seen a actually Marie sent me a link that Jean McNiff had found about applying for a MacArthur Foundation Fellowship Award competition. And so I was intrigued with this whole idea, and then Nancy and I were thinking about how we could connect the self-study group with all these digital formats, so we kind of pursued that line of thinking for the pre-conference at AERA.
We had great plans. We were going to link up digitally, we were going to add digital parts of our courses. At the same time, to set a larger context, I don't know about your universities, but in both our universities, we are actually being pushed to do two things. One, get grants, always get grants, but past that, to teach online. We can get money to develop online courses. Jill,
to develop online programs.
Okay, I don't know why the university is pushing it, but it is. So there is this pressure from many, many areas to deal with the computer in very different ways, to deal with the internet. And I liked it, I was intrigued with it. I also was watching my students are 20 years old, 22 years old. They're thinking, and this is when we started doing some reading, right. What we realized is the actual identity formation of our students was very different than our own. They were basically coming up with multiple identities. I can be who I want to be on Facebook. I can change them on MySpace and make them totally different. So they were these not public, but not private spaces. They were digital spaces, very different.
And for both of us, you know, we kept struggling with this, Skyping each other, emailing each other, talking to each other. And again, this was coming from San Diego at AERA a year ago, when we had done the pre-conference together, and we all connected at the pre-conference, and Jack was there, and Jean was there, and we were doing all kinds of things, and I was taking photographs and videos. And then Nancy had invited me to Oakland to a narrative workshop conducted by Tom Barone. And so through the whole summer, we talked about you know, again, continuing this line of thinking where we were both, okay, let's face it, we're middle-aged women who are teacher educators who really believe in relational ways of knowing. Face-to-face teaching. I've taught online classes. Nancy's taught online classes. The first class I ever taught at the university was an online class. The second one, my students begged me to turn it into a face-to-face class. And I said, sure, no problem. And we did a face-to-face and a blended version. But for me, and I think for Nancy also, you know, when I'm sitting in a room and I'm looking at my students and I'm, you know, trying to engage them and get them going, I look at them, I read their body language. I can tell by the look on the face they got it, they didn't get it. And you can feel it. But when it's on,
You can feel it through your skin. And I could not fathom how I could do what I was doing in an online world. I knew that I had tried online teaching. I had tried adding certain ways of being online into my classes. I just wasn't happy because I work off the energy of the people I'm speaking to.
Right.
Jill was saying it's visual for me it's not visual, for me it's through my skin. I can feel my students, they can feel me. And in doing that, something wonderful happens. This magical thing that we call teaching. And how was I going to do that if I couldn't actually feel? So I designed a study.
yes. And again, at the same time, I know what was happening for me was I was attempting to really increase my own technological skills with a number of my colleagues, and we had applied for this MacArthur Fellow Award. It didn't pan out, but we turned that into another presentation, which is called Project Fractal, where we were trying to invite like-minded researchers from all over the world to participate in this kind of online research community using method space. And amongst my colleagues, the three of them and myself, they're all very techie. I felt like the Luddite. And I also was really troubled by the fact that, again, my own children, my younger students, my undergraduate students, because I was now teaching undergraduates where I'd been used to teaching doctoral students and master's students, where they're comfortable, much more comfortable, sitting around a table and throwing out their ideas and putting themselves out there. But I saw that the undergraduate students in a face-to-face situation were very uncomfortable, not sure of themselves, couldn't handle themselves, were afraid of revealing who they were in a face-to-face situation. But when this was in front of them, they could throw their whole identity out there and be anybody they want and reveal very private things in a very public space, but yet sitting face-to-face. And so we were both struck with this, the whole idea of, as teacher educators, all right, we have a responsibility, certainly, because we're dealing with people who are digital natives and we're digital immigrants. I am totally an immigrant. It is not my language. I'm trying to master the language and use the language and integrate it into my practice, but it is not my first language. My first language is this, face-to-face, talking to you, looking at you, reading your body language, engaging you. And my students, especially the undergraduates, the really young ones, I would start to do that with them, and they would just sit there like I was speaking a foreign language. And I realized I am speaking a foreign language. And so then I started to even question, and so over this whole year, as Nancy and I have done this, when we wrote the paper originally, we were each going to do similar things, add a technology component to courses, which we both did, and then we would continue to see how that worked. And throughout the year, we kept throwing up obstacles. I had knee surgery. Unfortunately, my brother-in-law passed away. I can't really get into it the way I want to.
Tomorrow. Let's meet next Wednesday, and next Wednesday we would come and something else. And we